Hey Stampers, Kim from stampingimperfection.com. Welcome to my craft studio. I've been challenged with the task of making a home decor project out of my stamping stuff, and I've been playing around with a lot of different things. And one of the things I think Altenew does well, besides their just beautiful floral stamps and their beautiful layered stamp sets, they do the cover dies well, and I love these cover dies. Generally, you get cover die A and cover die B. You purchase them separately, or you can purchase them as a bundle a lot of times and save a little bit of money if you buy them both at the same time. Now, you don't need both of these. Each of these can be used separately. But when you use them, generally cover die A gets stacked on top of cover die B. Let me show you. And here's what I've done. I've cut out 4 of each. I cut out in black cardstock. This is cover die A. And this would be pretty as a project all on its own, like as a background for a fantastic card. And I really like this one because masculine or feminine, younger, older, like really this works for everyone. Absolutely works for everyone. So I love that. Isn't that pretty? It's just very subtle. You could make, like, you could do my lantern with just the one. Then I decided that cover die B was going to be cut out of some copper foil, and I don't know if all foil is like this. This was miserable to cut because there's a plastic coating. I don't know if you can see, I don't think you can see it, but there's a plastic coating on the back of this copper foil. This came from Stampin' Up, and I don't know if all foil is like this, but I ended up poking out a lot of these because they really were stuck in there. That plastic coating really was a tedious chore. But you know what? You turn on a good TV show and you watch a TV show while you poke out the parts. But this is cover die B. Again, all by itself, that is fantastic. Another beautiful card background, a nice stencil, and this is going to be perfect for my lantern project. So when you layer these together, the one goes on top of the other, and you get this little scene. Aren't they fabulous? Like, how pretty is that? You could do them in different color cardstock. You could do them in different metallic foils. Like, I was tempted to actually do instead of black cardstock, to use like silver foil or gold foil on top of that. I thought that might be pretty. Or even glitter paper might be kind of cool. So I think there's a lot of things, a lot of ways you can use this. So I cut 4 of each. Basically, I'm going to make a square lantern, and you could put a base in it. I'm not going to. I'm going to use it, again, electric candles, so they, I don't have open flames. I don't know why. Open flames make me very nervous in my house, especially when the kids were younger. Even now that the kids are older, I still get nervous. But I'm going to make a shade that will actually slide around this. I think this looks really pretty on tables, on an end table in the evening, on my mantle at holiday time. So I make them for different events. And, you know, it's made out of paper so that when I get tired of it or when it gets super dusty, I can just toss it out and start over. So here's how I'm going to put this together. I have a piece of vellum. I cut this in half, so I cut it at 5 1/2. So now I'm going to take each piece and score it at 4 1/4. So basically I have what's essentially an A2 card. So I'm just going to take this second piece and score it at 4 1/4. I'm using my Teflon bone folder. If you don't have one of these, so worth the investment. They are amazing. And I'm going to fold this in this way. And as I do this, even though I scored it, vellum is pretty tough. So I'm just making sure it all lines up. And then I'm going to use my Teflon bone folder and give it a good fold like that, so that I can open it up like this. Okay, now the other thing I'm going to use is some double-sided tape. This is not it. That's not my double-sided tape. I'm going to use some double-sided tape. Alright, to put this together is I'm just going to keep it super simple. And I'm going to use, this is my Altenew, it's almost like the old Dotto stuff. It's permanent adhesive. It's just a roller. It's permanent adhesive, but it only goes where you want it to. So I can do this on my mat without getting it all over my mat. And I'll just put some pieces, you know, I just really want to get around the edges really well. I'm going to do this on all 4 of the panels. And next time I'm going to be way more careful to use that adhesive. And I want to get it on the tops of some of these buildings. And I don't like using my liquid adhesive on these tiny spots. I'm just not, like, I don't know whether my hands aren't steady enough to do it or I'm just not, haven't practiced that enough. So then I'm going to take this and put it down on top of the copper. And what I like about this adhesive is it's temporary until you really give it a good push down. So I can move this around. Like, that's one of the things I like about this adhesive. And one of the reasons I've started using it on projects where I have to line things up, because I think it takes a lot of practice to line things up. So I'm just lining it up, and then I'm going to push it down, and that'll become permanent adhesive, or as permanent as I need it to be. There, perfect. So now I have the 2 pieces adhered together. How pretty is that? And I'm going to use vellum. Now you could color the vellum. You could use your artist markers or your ink pads or sponging, whatever you wanted to do, and give that vellum some color if you want to. I want to leave it like this because I know when I put the tea light behind it or the candle behind it, it's actually going to have a nice glow in the evening. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to do the same thing on the back of this and put it down on one piece of my vellum. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. And this one I can just go over because it doesn't have the small delicate pieces. I might have just, oops. I feel like I've been using the same roller adhesive forever. Okay, so now I'm going to put this on here, lining it up, and again I'm going to try to line it up, and I'll be able to peel this off, and if I have to trim it a little, I'll trim it a little. I like to line it at the top, because if either the top or the bottom isn't lined up, I find it easier to always trim the bottoms. So I'm going to do this, and I would like a little bit more adhesive back here. So I'm just going to roll that on and put that down. Now you could put, if you want it to stick, you could just take and put something heavy on top of it and let it sit for a little while, but I really want to move on with the project. So I'm going to go ahead and do this to all 4 pieces. Okay, so I've got my 2 panels created. Isn't that pretty? As I was doing it, I was thinking I'm a little sad to be covering up the edges there with the black. It might have been pretty if I'd done the black on the inside and the copper foil on the outside, and the black cardstock is much easier to cut out of this die than that gold foil with all the small windows. It might have been easier. So now I'm just going to take these 2 panels and I'm going to attach them together with some, actually I'm not going to use this double-sided tape, silly me. I'm going to use this, this might be too wide. See this is too wide. I want tape that's not going to show. Yeah, that's going to be too wide. I am going to use this. I'm just not going to take the paper side off this. So now on the inside, I'm just going to take this, and I could put a thin piece of, I'll see if I need to put a thin piece of the vellum over the top of it. I'm going to put this right down between the two. I have them pushed together just like that. And then I'm going to cut this off. Just like that. See how this works when I fold it. Oh, perfect. That actually works perfect. Alright, so that's what I have in my stash that works. You might have some other kind of tape that works in your stash. This is the only thing I had that was 1/4 of an inch, is my double-sided tear and tape. But that's exactly what I'm going to do. Now for this one, I'm actually going to just put it on one side. See if I can get this in the frame so you can see it. I'm just going to put it on one side, and I'm going to be careful to keep it so that it doesn't overlap the frame, because you don't want to see the adhesive. Since I am leaving the paper on the back, I don't want to see that adhesive from the other side, from the vellum side. Okay, and then I'm just going to go like this and just line this up right next to it like that and push it down. There we go. Now sometimes when I make lanterns like this, you can do this out of any shaped die cut. Believe it or not, like you can do this with any of your die cuts. This is pretty big. This is a good sized lantern. So now I can put my electric candle on the inside, and you just want to be sure that your candle isn't, you know, too tall for the inside, so you can fit, you know, a 5.5 inch candle on the inside. And never use these with open flames. This is paper, so just use the electric candles. Okay, so now you can use this, and I mean, look how pretty this looks. Look, my little, see if we can, I don't know if you can see that at all. How pretty is that? It's so pretty. They make perfect little lanterns, and the fun thing about this is to store it. Let me turn my lights back on here. To store this, I can store this flat. If I just want to use it for a party or an event, I can actually store this flat like this between a couple pieces of cardboard and have it to use again because it's collapsible. How great is that? So that's just a super fun project, and there's lots of variations. Like here's a paper shade that I just created with heat embossing. And another thing you can do instead of the vellum, you can use the window plastic, and I have embossable window plastic, so I could have embossed on that. I'll make a project with that, a lantern project with that as well. But these cover dies have limitless possibilities. This is just one of them. And let me show you some of the other cover dies because I love these things. So I've got these are the layered cityscape cover dies. This is layered cover die A and B. And again, you buy these, you purchase these separately. They do sell them as a bundle sometimes, and you tend to save a little bit. They have the plaid cover die. I don't have, I wish I had all of them. That plaid cover die A and B. Again, you can just buy one of these. They work beautifully just by themselves, or you can buy the pair and layer them. I mean, they're just so pretty. Then I have the halftone cover die, which I use this all the time as a stencil. It's just such a beautiful background effect with some ink blending. So is this cube cover die, and this one is fun because you can turn it all different ways and get all kinds of patterns with this. That's a lot of fun. Another one that they recently came out with that I like a lot is this shutter cover die, and I've made a few projects with that. Again, this is a great background stencil. This one I think would make a super pretty lantern, and this is the, what is this called? The striped leaf cover die. Isn't that pretty? Like if you were having a garden party, how pretty would that look? This is not a cover die. I love this one. I use this one a lot with embossing paste. I like this a lot with embossing paste. Also a great stencil, beautiful background for your cards or scrapbook projects. This is the watercolor stripes cover die. And here's another one of their layered ones. You can see I've used this one quite a bit too because I left some paper in there. And this is the layered floral cover die, and there are two, cover die A and cover die B, which I can feel but can't see. Okay, there's cover die B, and they layer together to give you this beautiful effect right here. So this would also make a beautiful lantern. I just picked the cityscape because I thought it was a fun one that would work well for men or women or kids of all ages. So there you go. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoy this project, and I hope it sparks some ideas for things that you can do to create home decor projects for your house. Thanks so much for watching. Stop by my blog at stampingimperfection.com, and you can check out these cover die sets at altenew.com.